עכשיו, היום במיוחד אנחנו רוצים לחזק את הקהילה השחורה.
Today, we would especially like to strengthen the black community.
במיוחד בשבילם, הנה ניסים הוא תלמיד שלי.
Especially for them, Reb Nissim Black is one of my students.
הוא נמצא אצלנו בישיבה.
He's in our institutes, learning in our yeshiva.
אוהבים אותו מאוד.
Everyone loves him very much.
הילדים שלו לומדים עם הילדים שלי.
His children learn with my children.
בילדים של כבוד הרב אלגרוד.
They also learn with my own children.
הכל מצוין.
Everything is fine.
ואנחנו היום רוצים באמת, הנה, אני מבקש אפילו עד הבא, שניסים, שהוא ידבר ישר באנגלית, ויחזק את הקהילה, ועד הבא.
I'd even like to ask my student, Reb Nissim Black, that he speaks in English and he strengthens the
אנחנו גם נשמח
black
לשמוע
community.
שאלות ולעלות על שאלות.
We'll be delighted and very happy to hear questions from you and to answer questions if you have them.
Thank you. Kavod Arav. Right now, we're witnessing the pain of the black community that has not only affected America, but it seems to be starting fires, even literally all around the world. It's a very, very sensitive topic. I've been asked to speak about this in many different places, in many different platforms, just to be able to give somewhat of a understanding of what's going on. There are people of African descent, people of color, people that would be considered black all over the world. And many of them, whether here in Israel, whether in France, whether in England, each person has their own story. Right now, the biggest issue that we're facing today, especially with the American black community, is that a lot of people don't understand what took place at the very beginning, at the foundation of this community. We're discussing from 1619 was the first ship that was brought over the Atlantic that carried the first slaves. Horrible conditions. We're talking about people that were treated beyond being a second class. You're treated as animals, separation of families, being broken, and being persecuted for many, many years. So it's a very, very deep and it's a very, very hard situation right now for the world. My chizuk to everybody is like this. First thing I want to say is that there are no klalim. No person can say that they have a monopoly on the truth for the black community. It's very, very hard. Some people don't know how to interpret what's going on if you're outside of the community. People who have become very active and it has lent their help and support and have even considered themselves an ally to the black community. Also, sometimes will find themselves in the dark and not really understand what's going on. But when I say that nobody can say, I myself, I've experienced racism on a systemic level. I went to a school that was predominantly African American, where we didn't have books I remember at least for the first 3 to 4 years, 3 years that I was there, sorry. And every year we had brand new football uniforms, basketball uniforms, and the things that we were supposed to excel at, but the things that when it came to education, we were last inside of in the state. So there were certain things that were set up in a way that made you feel almost like you couldn't succeed. So I have experienced my share, and there's many other stories. That does not take away from the other people who say that they haven't experienced white privilege, the people that say that they have not experienced racism in their own way. However, the biggest strength that I can give to people right now is that, you know, we can learn things from other cultures and from other people. One of the biggest things that we've done, not only as Klal Yisrael, as we have looked at how other other people and other communities have handled pandemics. How did Rabbi Akiva Eger handle things during the time of the pandemic and outbreak that was happening during his time? So we learn things from different people. We may even look at other cultures to be able to ask them, what did you do? And I think one of the biggest things that we can learn from this right now, I think as a black community, is to look at the Jewish community, who was also marginalized in Europe, also in the Mizrahi countries, second-class citizens, higher tax paying, and also feeling somewhat of the same oppression. One of the things that we could see that has always been a part of not only the Jewish community, also to the African-American community, has been one of prayer and faith and hope. And I think that the biggest thing right now is for everybody to sort of silence the world to be able to hear what it is that Hashem is saying to us, to hear what God is saying to us. So when people want to ask, what is it that I can do to help the African-American community, the first thing right now, I think it is for tefillah. Because right now, when the world's getting very, very loud, we need to be able to hear what it is that Hashem is trying to say to us. There have been many different tzaddikim, I don't know if I could say in the presence of a Rav Cook, that always were looking for the simanim from what Hashem is saying based on what's happening in the world. We know this about Rabbi Nachman as well. Was always looking at, he would base a lot of his shiurim and his lectures based on the different things and events that were happening in the world that would change and have their effect on the things that he would say and give over to his students. So right now it's a critical time for the world, and the biggest and the only way out of such a horrendous time is by tefillah and crying out. This is we look at the Jewish people were slaves in Egypt, and how do we get out? By crying out to Hashem, by praying to Hashem. And the black community especially has been known for its love of spirituality and a love of God. And it's a critical time for the world, a critical time for the people specifically. And we cannot lose handle on the things that have been able to help us survive the 400 years of oppression and slavery to date. So that's my 2 cents on what's going on right now, and willing to take any questions anybody has.